Are you serious? It just cut off? Oh, that's stupid, but okay. Just cut off. Oh, great. I needed help. Phone call just dies on me. Oh, typical.
Vision and impartiality, because Curiel is of Mexican descent, there is a historical pattern here. Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith, who is white and also overseeing multiple criminal investigations, including the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case, Trump said he should be removed immediately from his position. Rather tame in comparison. His worst and most unsupported vitriol is always saved for prosecutors and judges of color. I'm not going to get into the silly debate whether Donald Trump is a racist. It is a fruitless and insincere discussion. These aren't dog whistles, these are bullhorns, and I'm tired of America trying to tell you and me that we shouldn't believe our lying eyes and ears. I do know they don't call it supremacy for nothing. I'm Mo Kelly at Mr. Mo Kelly on social media, and that's your 2-minute warning on the Black Information Network.
I'm Ree Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network.
Oh, it's getting even stronger.
A massive storm is sweeping across the country, carving a path of destruction and death.
And when you look at that damage, it is very obvious that this is significant damage coming in from this.
From California, Texas, Oklahoma, and Mississippi, damage is widespread.
Likely going to be some of them that were on the ground for maybe 60, 70 plus miles.
Officials say tornadoes plowed through western Mississippi Friday night, destroying neighborhoods and causing widespread power outages. Search and rescue operations are underway in Sharkey and Humphrey counties.
I haven't seen anything like this for the 20 plus years that I've been living here.
The National Weather Service has confirmed that a tornado hit the towns of Silver City and Rolling Fork, where devastating damage has been reported. And that's the latest from the Black Information Network at BINnews.com. The power of information.
Black News here, and now the Bay Area's BIN 910.
Sports on the Black Information Network.
The National Football League is getting the word out to warn teams of a potential problem. The NFL sent out a memo to all clubs notifying them that a person who is not certified by the NFL Players Association may be attempting to persuade teams to enter into contract negotiations with Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. Jackson posted the comment on Twitter after the NFL alerted teams of a possible scam involving him. Under league rules, teams can only speak with Jackson because he doesn't have an agent. The Players Association had informed the league that Francis, who is not a certified agent, may be contacting teams regarding Jackson. Francis and Jackson have denied any contact made to teams on the quarterback's behalf. Meanwhile, former Tampa Bay quarterback Tom Brady is moving on to his next venture. The 7-time Super Bowl winning quarterback has acquired an ownership interest in the WNBA's Las Vegas Aces. Brady said in a statement that he has always been a huge fan of women's sports and that he admires the work that the Aces players, staff, and the WNBA continue to do to grow the sport and empower future generations of athletes. The 45-year-old retired from the NFL following this past season. Per the team release, Brady's purchase will be subject to WNBA approval. And a star running back is narrowing down his free agent destinations. ESPN reports Ezekiel Elliott has named the Jets, Eagles, and Bengals as teams he would like to play for. If he joins New York, he'd be part of a backfield led by Breece Hall, with Ty Johnson also on the roster. Philadelphia recently signed Rashad Penny and also has Kenneth Gainwell on passing downs. If the former Cowboy wants to play for Cincinnati, he'd join a squad led by Joe Mixon along with Chris Evans. Sports at 14 and 44 minutes past each hour. I'm Morgan Wood on the Black Information Network.
Better hurry if you want in on $1 million in HBCU scholarships from McDonald's.
You've got 107 HBCUs to choose from.
And you can get up to $15,000.
But time is running out, and there's only one way to get it. A Black and Positively Golden Scholarship.
When your school is black, your future is golden. McDonald's has partnered with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund to award $1 million in scholarships to promising HBCU students. This year, you could be next. But hurry, deadline is March 22nd. Apply now at tmcf.org.
Behind the Music is back with a podcast.
I make music that I hope women will enjoy and make them feel things that they never
felt before, I'll do it for that screen.
Download the Usher episode now.
Not having my father be there is what makes me the father that I am to my son.
And listen anytime, anywhere with the iHeartRadio app.
I was shocked because I'm more artist now than I've ever been in my entire career with my music, and it wasn't received that way.
Or wherever you get your podcasts. Our News, available anywhere. Tell your smart device to play the Black Information Network station on iHeartRadio. Entertainment news on the Black Information Network. So here's an interesting twist to a story we previously reported. PETA, which stands for People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, has made a special request for the stars of the movie Good Burger. Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell recently confirmed that the original movie would be getting a sequel. In light of this news, PETA asked Kenan and Kel if they would consider making the fictitious fast food burger spot a vegan restaurant. On their official Twitter account, PETA said, quote, "Some things like beef patties are better left in the 90s. And if Good Burger has any hope of surviving new competition in 2023, its menu will abundantly feature animal-free offerings," end quote. Nickelodeon and Paramount Plus have confirmed that Good Burger 2 will begin production in May. And with concert season in full swing, Ticketmaster is under fire yet again. Rolling Stone is reporting that a law firm in Montreal, Canada, is planning to bring a lawsuit against the company for price gouging and, quote, intentionally misleading consumers for their own financial gain, end quote. According to the Toronto Star, the lawsuit was filed on behalf of a man who purchased a pair of tickets for Drake's upcoming show at the Bell Center Arena in downtown Montreal in July for more than $700 each. When Drake announced a second show, those same seats dropped in price to around $350 per ticket. The lawsuit is aiming to turn this into a class action complaint, which must be approved by the Quebec Superior Court. And Beyoncé is covering the brand new issue of Vogue France. She is wearing Balmain Couture that she co-designed with designer Olivier Roustan in celebration of Renaissance. She has 16 looks representing the 16 tracks of the project, creating a wearable album. How cool is that? You can check out the pics online at the official Vogue France Instagram page. With the latest in entertainment at 17 and 47 minutes past each hour, I'm Bree Wood on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
I'm Devin Dunstan on the Black Information Network. In 1892, a 30-year-old woman named Sarah Boone was granted a patent for an invention many of us use every day. Born into slavery in Craven County, North Carolina, Sarah Boone is credited with inventing the ironing board. In her patent application, she wrote, "The purpose is to produce a cheap, simple, convenient, and highly effective device, particularly adapted to be used in the ironing of sleeves and bodies of ladies' garments." Before Sarah Boone's great idea, most people would iron their clothes on a simple board, but her invention featured the narrow, curved design that is still used today. The ironing board that the former enslaved African-American designed made it easier to iron clothing, especially women's garments. Over the years, the design would evolve somewhat, but the ironing board that we use today is essentially the same idea that was patented in 1892. Now, more than 125 years later, Sarah Boone is remembered as a black woman who invented the ironing board. And that's a fact. I'm Devin Dunstan on the Black Information Network.
Black news impacting your town,
Your world, your voice. The Bay Area's BIN 910. I'm Doug Davis.
and I'm Esther Dillard on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
And here are your top stories. A new report reveals police in Connecticut thought a black man was faking his injuries. In reality, his spinal cord was injured. Video shows a scary scene, 4 men firing 70 shots at a group of teens in broad daylight. And another attempt at limiting talks of racism is moving through the North Carolina legislature. The State House passed a bill that bans the public school teaching of critical race theory. However, the bill falls short of preventing a veto. One lawmaker says it prohibits schools from endorsing discriminatory concepts, and black Congressman Kelly Alexander said on the floor that history sometimes isn't always pretty.
Well, you find out that in the middle passage, about 2.5 million of them would rather have died than to arrive in the Caribbean or to the eastern shores of what has become the United States.
Governor Roy Cooper vetoed a similar bill last year. The bill now moves to the Senate.
An Ohio high school teacher is being investigated after he allegedly used a racial slur in a classroom. The Nordonia high school teacher said the slur while discussing which words were unacceptable with his students. The high school and the district apologized, stating that the teacher has been relieved of his duties while the school conducts an investigation. Akron NAACP President Judy Hill agrees with the decision.
But I also want to applaud the teacher for saying, this is the standard I'm setting in my classroom. And if we don't have high standards, then we're going to get anything.
It's not yet known if the teacher will be placed on suspension or if he permanently will be relieved of his duties.
In Georgia, students walked out of an Atlanta high school to protest proposed redistricting. Several hundred teens from Midtown High walked out of class and protested at Piedmont Park. At issue is the suggested rezoning of several neighborhoods to Washington High. The protesters say the district is targeting minority neighborhoods while white areas are being left alone. During the walkout, Atlanta News First spoke to organizer Senior Makai Strozier.
I feel like it's going good, but I feel like we still haven't been heard because I feel like they're telling us to go back inside the building. They're going to get on the intercom and tell us this, that, and the third, and they're going to write emails.
Strozier told the news outlet she'll likely be reprimanded for her actions.
A black handicapped Connecticut man creates inspiring art, and he does it all without his hands. In 2007, the then 21-year-old Ryan Rosario suffered a diving accident, which left him paralyzed from the neck down. After his accident, Ryan taught himself how to paint. So far, he sold over 100 paintings from Connecticut to California. Painting has also helped him cope after losing his wife to cancer in 2021. Today, Ryan is a single dad of 3, but every day he teaches his family and his supporters a powerful message.
I've always seen my disability as my superpower.
This summer, he plans to hold a few pop-up events.
Listen to the Black Information Network on the iHeartRadio app or log on to BINnews.com. On social media, follow the BIN on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Black Information Network, and on Twitter at BlackInfoNet. I'm Doug Davis, along with Esther Dillard on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Power of information.
Keeping you up to date on the Black Information Network.
The Bay Area's BIN 910.
Your money on the Black Information Network.
The Federal Reserve is hiking interest rates despite concerns over the banking system. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said inflation remains too high and the labor market is very tight.
The committee raised the target range for the federal funds rate by a quarter percentage point, bringing the target range to 4 3/4 to 5%.
Powell says there's no need to worry about the banking system.
The process of getting inflation back down to 2% has a long way to go and is likely to be bumpy.
Powell's remarks come after the recent failure of California Silicon Valley and New York Signature Bank.
Our banking system is sound and resilient with strong capital and liquidity. We will continue to closely monitor conditions in the banking system and are prepared to use all of our tools as needed to keep it safe and sound.
Meanwhile, Citigroup CEO James Frazier said recent bank failures aren't a sign of systemic trouble in the financial system.
This is not something that is spread across the entire banking system. This isn't like it was last time.
Frazier says Americans have a reason to be confident that the banking system is sound. Money News at 24 and 54 minutes past each hour. I'm Bernice Davis on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
The only news that hears you.
The Black Information Network. The Bay Area's BIN 910.
I'm Esther Dillard.
And I'm Doug Davis on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
A black man from Queens, New York is celebrating after a court cleared his name of a 1993 murder. The Daily News reports Michael Robinson served 26 years behind bars for killing home health aide Gwendolyn Samuels. New York Supreme Court's appellate division judges ruled the case should have allowed for DNA evidence. Robinson's defense attorneys argued he was with his family and he couldn't have killed Samuels. The paper reports the conviction hinged on the eyewitness testimony of Samuels' 88-year-old patient who reportedly had cataracts in both eyes.
Meanwhile, in Georgia, lawmakers are considering a bill that would change how the state compensates people who serve time after being wrongfully convicted of a crime. Atlanta News First reports it proposes paying $60,000 to $120,000 for each year a person is wrongfully held behind bars. It's something exonerated African-American John Whitewishes was around when his name was cleared in 2007 after spending more than 20 years in prison.
It gives the exoneree more control of their lives.
Georgia is one of 12 states that does not offer statutory compensation for people wrongfully convicted.
An inspiring story out of Illinois. Lou Freeman, the first black pilot for Southwest Airlines, visited a middle school to speak to students about his trailblazing career in the airline industry. Students asked Freeman questions, and Freeman enthusiastically shared answers.
I love talking to young students and trying to motivate them. And
730-8405. Now, your 3-day weather forecast on Bloomberg 960.
Sunny skies out there today and a high getting up near 60 degrees. Tonight, mostly clear, low getting down between 30 and 40. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, high again near 60. Tomorrow night, some clouds on the increase. Rain arrives after midnight and a low about 40. And for Tuesday, periods of rain and a high near 55. That's your Bloomberg 960 3-day weather forecast. I'm Susanna Palmer. Now Bloomberg Sports.
Breaking market news from the Pacific Rim. Bloomberg Daybreak Asia.
I'm Brian Curtis.
And I'm Doug Krisner.
What might it take for the turmoil in the U.S. banking system to spread to Asia?
And a look at how the exit from COVID-0 will impact China's industrial profits.
Bloomberg Daybreak Asia. This afternoon at 3 on Bloomberg 960, the Bloomberg Business app, BloombergRadio.com, or listen on demand wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back, panelists here. NBC News Washington correspondent Michelle Sindor, Jake Sherman, co-founder of Punchbowl News, Democratic pollster Cornel Belcher, and Wall Street Journal columnist Peggy Noonan. I want to start with sort of...
The bill signed by former President Biden, the most consequential health care legislation since
negotiating with other kids just to resolve differences. So speak to that if you would, because I found myself, whenever I read pieces you have written about that, for some reason that resonated with me as best I can tell, a crucial part of becoming a contributing adult.
Right. So the example I love to give, it's like my favorite story ever from Parents Magazine, although I have more recent stories too. And John Haidt and I write about this in a reason.
I'm Vanessa Tyler. We're celebrating the brilliance of Black women this Women's History Month and highlighting the ingenuity of Monique Rodriguez, who launched and grew Mael Organics into a top national brand. The cosmetics company was just purchased by P&G Beauty. The Black Information Network recognizes Monique Rodriguez as a phenomenal Black woman leader, helping take Black businesses to a new level of success.
iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with John Legend to find out which artist in music today inspires him most.
Well, I'm a big fan of Frank Ocean's album, Channel Orange. I think it's a beautiful album, and it was inspiring as an artist to see someone with that level of creativity and virtuosity when it comes to his lyrics and his writing ability. I just felt like that was an inspiring album for me. It's just exciting to see him blossom as an artist.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more of John Legend and all your favorite artists.
I'm Vanessa Tyler.
And I'm Mike Stevens on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
A Texas judge doubled the bail for a Black father to $2 million for allegedly murdering his baby girl on FaceTime. The Harris County Sheriff says 25-year-old DeAndre Flanagan grabbed 2-year-old Zavea from daycare and made violent threats.
He confronted the mother of the child and began making threats, asking for her phone, her passcode, with child in hand, and basically threatening to hurt the child.
The Black mother, Kirsten Watson, says he made good on the threat by choking their child to death and letting her see it on FaceTime. She begged police to stop him. She claimed SWAT took their time after a chase to get him out of the car as he was killing her child. When they went in, it was too late. The child was dead. There is also an internal investigation into police response.
10 people